Welcome to another video here on the Giant Take YouTube channel. I am Josh and I am joined by my co-host Alex. It is the NFL First Round Mock Draft 2.0. We did the 1.0 a little over a month ago in the beginning of March. Now we're back. We're here with the 2.0. And without further ado, we're not going to waste any of your time. Let's get right into it, starting out with pick number 1 by the Jacksonville Jaguars, the number 1 probably prospect in this draft class and the number 1 edge in this draft class, Aiden Hutchinson, out of Michigan. On to number 2. I mean, unless Alex has something to say, if you don't know about these guys already, you can check out a bunch of content that we have on the channel because we probably talked about all of these guys at least once, if not most of them. But I mean, Alex, do you have any response on this on the first picks? I don't know how you want to go by comments. I think I'm gonna only make comments on things I find interesting, but the guys we've talked about before, I don't need to comment about them.
Yeah, I mean, basically, Jaguars need an edge rusher. They have Josh Allen already, and I think it's the best pick available. He's the best player in the class, like you said, Josh. There's not really much more to say about him.
Okay, so then perfect. We got number 2, another edge, back-to-back. This guy has been climbing up draft boards the past couple months and could be rumored, or is rumored to go number 1. But in this mock draft, we have him going number 2, and that is Travon Walker out of Georgia. The guy that is supposed to have high upside and develop in the NFL. Aiden Hutchinson seems to be a number 1 or day 1 starter. Travon Walker could very well start day 1, but will more develop into an NFL guy, unlike what we already think that Aiden Hutchinson is an NFL star, basically. Moving to number 3 now, the Texans. Offensive tackle, Ike Ekwonu from NC State. Ike is his nickname. They're debatable for who can go as the number 1 offensive tackle. Who is the number 1 offensive tackle? Well, check out our offensive tackle rankings to find out here on this YouTube channel. It's in the playlist, so you can check that out on what we think is the number 1 guy. But, Cross, Ekwonu, I mean, they can all debatably go, or either can debatably be the top guy. So
can I butt in for a second?
Yeah, go. Or Evan Neal.
Yes,
I don't
Evan
know why
Neal.
I was
you were blanking on his name for a second.
Yeah.
With Ekwonu, the Texans obviously could really go anywhere because their team is not very good, and that's coming from a Giants fan, so it's quite bad. With the Texans, I think Ekwonu makes the most sense because they obviously already have Laramie Tunsil, and they need help at guard and at right tackle. And I think Ekwonu is best suited to help fill both of those positions if need be. So that's kind of why I went Ekwonu here for the Texans. I think he just fits that team the best.
Now to our other New York team at pick 4. Now this could go many different ways for the Jets, another really bad team just like the Giants. But they go edge, and that's edge 3 out of the first 4 picks in this mock draft. Kayvon Thibodeaux out of Oregon, or Thibodeau, out of Oregon. Can't speak. But he goes forward to the Jets, the other team that plays in MetLife Stadium, to the team that we like that plays in MetLife Stadium, the New York Giants. Offensive tackle, Evan Neal, Alabama. Neal seems to be the one that I think is the most linked with the team based on reports that I've seen on Twitter from NFL reporters and things of that nature. So that is why I have Evan Neal going here at number 5, or we have Evan Neal going at number 5. So when Neal comes, will he play left tackle? Will he play right tackle? Well, we know where Andrew Thomas is playing, so we would assume that Neal would come in and play opposite of him at right tackle, correct? And so that is where Neal will be playing. We now move on to pick number 6. That is Alex's job.
All right, I'll take it away from here for the next few. With the Panthers up at number 6, they could go a couple different ways. Offensive tackle, certainly a possibility, and obviously quarterback's a possibility. No quarterbacks have been taken as of right now, so they got their pick of the litter, and they decide to go with Malik Willis out of Liberty, obviously a really high upside guy, and hopefully can save Matt Rule's job down in Carolina. Number 7, the Giants back on the clock. This is an area that you're probably looking defense. You're looking at an edge. There's not really a great edge available. The top 3 guys are off the board. You could look at a guy like Jermaine Johnson, George Karlaftis. But unfortunately, I just don't think they're really worthy of this selection here at number 7. And there's one player who, definitely stands out here for a position of need, which is really most positions for the Giants, if we're being honest. But Ahmad Sauce Gardner fits the Giants scheme perfectly on defense. And we have him being taken here by the Giants at number 7 out of Cincinnati. And then number 8, the Falcons, another team that could go many different directions, another very bad team, which obviously is common when you're picking very high in the draft usually. The Falcons, obviously, they are losing Calvin Ridley due to his suspension. They don't have Russell Gage anymore. They really need wide receiver help. And the solution, I think, is the best wide receiver in this class, and I think that's Garrett Wilson out of Ohio State. And I think he goes number 8 overall to the Falcons. Number 9, the Seahawks could very well go quarterback, but I think they're going to take wait another year before getting their franchise quarterback. And in order to have a franchise quarterback, they need to stay on their feet. And in order to do that, you need a solid left tackle. And I think Charles Cross fits that mold perfectly for the Seahawks here at number 9.
Yeah, Cross out of Mississippi State. I just want to add, Alex, that I think that Seahawks are getting great value with this pick at 9 because Charles Cross can be a guy that even falls in the top 5 on draft day. But, it just works out in the scenario that the Seahawks are able to get one of the top-tier offensive tackles at pick number 9, almost, to the teens. So they're able to get him there.
Yeah, great value, like you said. At number 10 here, the Jets are probably a little bit disappointed. They might be a little bit interested in some Charles Cross action, but they obviously missed out on him by one spot. At number 10, a guy who I guess has kind of fallen down draft boards. He's kind of like a mystery in this draft. We don't know exactly where he's going to go, how teams value him and his position. That's safety Kyle Hamilton, but I think the Jets certainly will value him as a box guy. They do probably need a deep lying safety, and they really just need to take best player available. And at this point, Kyle Hamilton is best player available. I'm a big Kyle Hamilton fan. I think he should go earlier than this, but I do understand the positional value concerns, and that's kind of why he's fallen here to number 10.
Moving on to number 11 now, we have the Washington Commanders. Still weird to say. Number 11, the Washington Commanders, they pick wide receiver Drake London out of USC. A guy that I honestly, since, I don't even know, we started doing draft research, Alex, in February once the Giants season was over. Or that was in January, sorry.
Really in September, but yeah.
Once the draft season was over, or once the Giants season was over, I started doing draft research, and I think one of the starting positions I did was wide receiver. And ever since then, I fell in love with Drake London, and he is my top wide receiver and has been since like January, February when I started doing research. So I love that pick there for Washington, except that it's in the NFC East. Next up, 12, Minnesota Vikings, cornerback Derek Stingley Jr., LSU, a guy that is very much up there in the top tier of cornerbacks in this NFL draft class. It's probably him, Gardner, and then you go into tier 2, in my opinion. And just coming into that tier 2, honestly, is number 13 here, just how it works out. The Texans get cornerback Trent McDuffie out of Washington. So that is who they get at 13.
Yeah. Trent McDuffie, I was reluctant. I thought you were going to say something there, but I'm glad you didn't because I have something to say. So with Trent McDuffie, I heard a press conference or a conversation or interview. I wasn't really certain on it, but I saw that the Texans' new coach, it's their former defensive coordinator, I'm blanking on his name now, he mentioned how they need to be much better in the secondary. They obviously got their tackle at number 3. And I think they want to improve the secondary. There's not really a great edge here at this position. You could argue Jermaine Johnson's good value, but I think they opt to go with Trent McDuffie, who I think is a very underrated corner in this class. And I think is going to be very good and slot in right away as their CB1 for Houston.
So moving on to pick number 14 now. Probably, so the defensive tackles in this NFL draft aren't as high as maybe some other years recently, but they are still first-round guys, and the probably top of that list is Jordan Davis, defensive tackle out of Georgia. You can debate between him and Wyatt to see who's number 1 in that defensive tackle list. Alex might say differently. But I would say that Davis is the top of that list for defensive tackles in this year's draft. And then number 15, edge, Jermaine Johnson out of Florida State, another edge rusher being picked in this first round by the Philadelphia Eagles. And that was one of their trade picks, I believe.
Yeah, they obviously made that move with the Saints. That's a little bit different from our first mock draft. And then also the Packers made a trade. The Chiefs made a trade. So there are some different picks in the first round now since we did the last one. But yeah, you did Jermaine Johnson, right, at 15? So Jermaine Johnson, I like him a lot. I think he's a very good prospect, but I would say obviously age is a bit of a concern. And obviously is kind of leaving from that Georgia team and then moving to Florida State, also a bit of a concern. But I think Eagles get good value there. Saints at 16, they obviously acquired that pick from the Eagles in that trade. They go quarterback. They need a quarterback. Obviously, Jameis Winston's probably not the long-term answer. And I think the second best QB on the board in this draft, first best QB on the board currently is Kenny Pickett out of Pittsburgh. I like him a lot. I think he's solid. I think he's kind of the best day one QB. And to be honest, the Saints are a win now team. So I think it kind of works out for them just as well as it works out more than any other team, maybe bar the Steelers.
Yeah, I just think I know what Saints fans might say, or even NFL fans who listen or watch might say to this mock draft. I know they got Dalton. I know they have Winston. I mean, Kenny Pickett, you're going to want a guy for the future, and that is not Jameis Winston. That's not Andy Dalton. That is Kenny Pickett. So that's what also you want a mobile QB. And Jameis Winston isn't really a mobile QB, so that's something you get with Kenny Pickett as well.
Yeah, and certainly Andy Dalton is not. So if that's in case anyone was wondering. 17, the Chargers are up on the board. We had them going Jordan Davis in the last mock. I know that's a popular spot for them to take some interior guys. At this point, Jordan Davis is off the board. Devontae Wyatt doesn't really fit what they need exactly because Devontae Wyatt's more of a do-it-all, jack-of-all-trades defensive tackle. They really need a guy who can just stuff the run, which is what Jordan Davis does best. So instead, they opt to protect their young quarterback, Justin Herbert, with a new offensive tackle, Trevor Penning out of Northern Iowa, tested very well at the Combine, obviously had a great Senior Bowl, and he rises up to 17 for us in this mock. 18, you got your new QB in Kenny Pickett, the Saints did, and now they need someone for him to throw to, and that's going to be wide receiver Jameson Williams out of Alabama. Another really great prospect, obviously had that ACL tear, so that's obviously a bit unfortunate, but he should be ready by the beginning of next season. And I think the Saints get a good value here with Jameson Williams as well. And then to round out the teams here, the Eagles select defensive tackle Devontae Wyatt out of Georgia. I am a big Devontae Wyatt fan. I think I kind of see it like this. Devontae Wyatt is like the Aiden Hutchinson of the defensive tackle class, and Jordan Davis is the Trayvon Walker. And to be fair, Devontae Wyatt's an athletic freak as well. I think it's, he's just overshadowed by how much of a freak Jordan Davis is. But Devontae Wyatt, I think he is worthy of a top 15 pick. And here I have him going at 19. He has that pass rushing upside, which is certainly very valuable for an interior guy.
I thought you were going to do 20 as well, Alex, but sure, I could take it over. Number 20, the Steelers make an interesting move here. I mean, some people say they draft a quarterback, some people say they don't. Mitchell Trubisky, I mean, I guess he gets a second chance there in Pittsburgh. Is he really the guy you want for the future? Depends on Steeler fans and how they feel in their front office. We believe they don't. So they select quarterback Desmond Ridder out of Cincinnati at pick number 20. Moving on to 21.
Just a quick comment there I wanted to say.
Or not.
Yep. This is actually kind of interesting because today news came out when we're recording this that most teams have Desmond Ridder as a first-round graded QB. So that's something to kind of think about, kind of why we had him going here at 20, kind of rising up draft boards, or maybe hasn't risen up, but we just didn't really know about how NFL teams thought about him.
Now moving on to 21, we have the Patriots. Cornerback Andrew Booth Jr. from Clemson. 22. The Packers desperately need a wide receiver. No, I know it's crazy. They didn't have a wide receiver besides Adams before he left, and now they don't have Adams, so they don't have any wide receivers. The Alex and I we were talking about it today. Funny enough, that playbook in Green Bay was kind of based around or made up around Adams or Aaron Jones, at the running back position. But now they got Allen Lazard as their top guy, so they need a wide receiver. In this draft at 22, they select wide receiver Chris Olave out of Ohio State. The guy's had multiple years of production and very good stat numbers. So, stat numbers, does that make any sense? Stats, 2 years of very good stats at least. So, he's up there for the Packers to take a 22. 23, the Cardinals, another edge, George Karlaftis from Purdue, one of the top edges in this draft class. I feel like a guy that's gone down draft boards, honestly, towards the negative side. I feel like he was up more. A couple months ago, and now you see him going 23 in our mock draft. I guess that's just the way the dice rolls. But it is what it is. So I don't even know if dice rolls. I'm doing good here. Okay, 24, Cowboys. They go with an interior offensive lineman, Kenyon Green, out of Texas A&M. Alex, I know you're a big fan of him, so I'll give you a minute to speak on him before we go to the next pick and I move too quickly.
Yeah, Kenyon Green, I kind of got a bit of hate for this the other day when we did our 7-round mock draft for the Giants, and I had the Giants trading up from 36 to 30 to take Kenyon Green over Zion Johnson. And I know a lot of people are like, Zion Johnson's better. I just recommend go watch the tape of the both of them. Not saying Zion Johnson's not a good player, because he certainly is a very good player, but Kenyon Green is definitely on a different level, I think, at the guard position. I think he's that good. And I think the Cowboys, they have an eye for offensive lineman talent. They obviously lost Lyle Collins, obviously different position, but still need to beef up that interior of the offensive line. They get Kenyon Green here, which I think is a very good value. You good with me moving on and doing the next couple, or you going through them? I'll go through them.
Yeah, you got it.
I'll go through them. Bills at 25. They need corner help. Besides Tre'Davious White, they really don't have anybody. And I think this is a great pick for them. A number 2 corner who is just elite in man coverage, Kaiir Elam from Florida, another player we had mocked in a Giants mock draft recently. I really like that guy. So, excited to see where he ends up. But I think Buffalo is a great location if you were to, fall to the mid-20s. 26, Titans. We were kind of looking at wide receivers here. Treylon Burks is the best one on the board, but, you already have A.J. Brown, similar-ish type of players. Obviously, they're not the same. So I'm not really the biggest fan of that. I think it's too early to reach for a guy like Jahan Dotson or Sky Moore. And so we decide to go with another need. Linebacker Devin Lloyd out of Utah. Just seems like he would fit their defensive scheme well, a little bit better than Nakobe Dean would. And that's really the basis here of why we chose him. 27, the Buccaneers. Speaking of Zion Johnson, they select him out of Boston College, 27th overall. They lost a couple guys in the interior in the offseason, and they need to protect Tom Brady, obviously coming back from his unretirement, retired, back unretired.
Another reason, Alex, why people or teams might want to get someone like Kenyon Green over Zion Johnson might just be the size. Just like the simple fact of, one of them's taller, one of them's not. Kenyon Green, that 1 inch might count for something. I don't know. Kenyon Green is 6'4", Zion Johnson 6'3", and Kenyon Green obviously 10, 12 pounds, a little heavier than Johnson. You might want a guy who's bigger buffer on that offensive line. So just to back up your point a little bit more there.
Yeah, I certainly agree with you, but I think Zion Johnson's going to be an excellent interior guy as well. So, not saying Zion Johnson's bad at all. I feel like that's kind of what got thrown at me during the mock draft that we did a few days ago. 28 for the Packers. They're up again. At this point, I was heavily thinking going back-to-back wide receivers for them. Treylon Burks is still on the board. Him and Chris Olave would be a pretty potent punch. But I decide to go with another guy, another athletic freak, but on the defensive side of the ball, and that's edge rusher Boye Mafe out of Minnesota, a really raw guy, kind of a player that's really going to need developing, but he has all the athletic tools to be a very good edge rusher in this league, and I think the Packers take a chance on him. And then 29, I will give to Josh, where he can talk about the Kansas City Chiefs. Obviously, they have back-to-back picks here at 29 and 30.
Yes, very important for the Chiefs to get a wide receiver here. Want to know why? Kind of just like another top guy in this NFL, in the NFL, at the wide receiver position. We talked about Devontae Adams with the Packers. Yeah, there was a guy named Tyreek Hill. He used to be on the Kansas City Chiefs. Not anymore. Now they got Juju Smith-Schuster doing TikTok dances on the 50-yard line. So I think they might want another guy there. They also have Marquez Valdes-Scantling, took him from the Packers there. And they have McCole Hardman. So they have some wide receivers. They need one more.
Yeah.
I think Treylon Burks is the perfect guy there out of Arkansas and can very well play the slot while you have Smith-Schuster on the outside and maybe Valdes-Scantling or
Burks is big. He's 6'4". He could maybe
or Hardman
on the play the outside. It's really a nice dynamic for them because you got Hardman, small, speedy, Juju, who's kind of the middle of the road, do it all wide receiver, and then you got Burks, who's your kind of jump ball wide receiver.
And then you have the Chiefs at the other back-to-back spot at number 30 here, taking a cornerback because their top cornerback right now is either Fenton or L'Jarius Sneed. So I'm going to go cornerback. I don't know why I keep on saying that. We go cornerback Roger McCreary out of Auburn, someone who could fall into the early second round. And Alex and I have this little thing that if we take like an edge and an O-line, right, we keep those two picks at 5 and 7, and McCreary falls to us at 36 in that second round, let's snag him up right then and there, and that's going to be a great first 3 picks for the Giants if he falls. But right here he doesn't, and the Chiefs snap him up at number 30. I'm going to do 31, and I'll let Alex close with the final pick. 31, Bengals. Interior offensive lineman Tyler Linderbaum out of Iowa. Another guy here that if, the Giants don't pick an offensive lineman in their first 5 or 7 pick in the first round, if he falls into the second round at 36, you got to snag him up. I don't know how Linderbaum is so low on these draft boards. It's crazy. If he falls this far in the draft, I will be amazed, honestly. Teams are really sleeping on this guy, and it's helping me feel better that the Giants could get him in the second round. So I don't know, but he stays in the first round here, goes to the Bengals at 31. Alex, close out this mock draft.
Yeah, so the Lions, they got a high upside guy with Trayvon Walker at number 2. Now they are sitting with Jared Goff at QB. They need a guy who possibly could develop around him, another kind of raw talent, really only played in an RPO scheme at his school of Ole Miss. And this guy, I think, is kind of a boomer bust kind of guy. I don't really have a proper read on him when I watched his film. Not really sure what to make of him. But I think the Lions see a guy with potential, and obviously with the 5th-year option with the 32nd pick, certainly another thing that's a bonus. And they take Matt Corral, QB out of Ole Miss, like I mentioned before. And that rounds out our 32 picks in our full first-round mock draft.
So for right now, you can hit the subscribe button below. Drop a like on this video. We would really appreciate it. Check out the playlist with all the draft stuff there and the offseason content as well from earlier when the Giants hired their new staff. You can follow us on Twitter at The Giant Take Pod, Instagram and Facebook, The Giant Take, TikTok as well, The Giant Take Pod. And all of our Twitters and most of the links will be down below in the either podcast notes or description. Thanks so much for listening or watching. We'll see you next time. Peace.